Hello, Professor McGuire. My name is Justice Gonzalez, and today I'm going to be speaking on some different civil liberties we Americans have as United States citizens. Civil liberties can be defined as both constitutional and legal protections, as well as the rights retained by a United States citizen under our Constitution. These different liberties are what make up the Bill of Rights. Some of these liberties in which I'm going to speak about is one's freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, the unreasonable search and seizure of people, and the protection against the forced quartering of troops. All of these topics are great examples to speak on because our everyday lives are surrounded by people fighting in courts about how their amendments have been violated and how they weren't allowed to speak their mind freely. As stated in the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or obliging the petition the government for a redress of grievance. According to the reporter for NBC News, Stephanie O'Connell, last year in Connecticut State University, students of the newspaper press felt as if their freedom of speech rights were violated. In the library of the university, the editor of the newspaper placed a large quantity of newspapers on the shelves as he usually does after each printing session. The editor came back a few hours later and noticed that the whole stack of papers were gone. He figured somebody stole them as a prank of some sort, so he filed a police report. When the police were called about the incident, the editor came to find out that the papers were actually removed due to an article written about the men's soccer team, in which was offensive to many of the players as well as the coaches. As far as this issue as a whole, the students of the newspaper are not sure how they are going to handle the situation, but the editor, Mr. Prock, stated that we aren't sure what we are going to do. To me, as the editor and someone who works really hard, it's going to be a big slap in the face. And he didn't apologize to us. He apologized to the police. It really is freedom of speech. It really is an issue of freedom of speech. As one may see through this incident and many other incidents similar to this one, there are always issues flaring up in the state and federal courts regarding one's freedom of speech. The next amendment I am going to speak about is known as the right to bear arms, which has been a hot topic of discussion in the United States recently. According to the United States Constitution and the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms is defined as a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Put into simpler terms, this statement means that the United States citizens are allowed to conceal weapons for safety reasons. This ongoing topic regarding the right to bear arms has two opposing sides, one in favor of abolishing the amendment and the other obviously in favor of keeping the amendment intact. According to an interesting article posted in the media, people who want the amendment abolished claim that the U.S. has the highest rate of gun ownership in the world. Compared to other developed nations, it has one of the highest rates of gun deaths, homicides, and suicides. For the U.S., this was 10.2 per 100,000 in 2009. This is an exceptional point to argue when referring to our country's gun ownership and tragedy in comparison to other countries such as Finland, where the gun death rate was only 4.47% per every 100,000 in 2009, more than halfway less than the United States. People who are in favor of the right to bear arms claim that the amendment does truly provide protection for all citizens. As stated in the same article that I previously discussed, the Second Amendment gives us the right to bear arms and to defend ourselves with a gun whenever we feel threatened or in danger. As one may notice, many different arguments arise regarding to the Second Amendment to the Constitution as to whether or not the right to bear arms shall be abolished. Another aspect of the United States Constitution that I will speak on is known as the unreasonable search and seizure of people. The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution states that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. What this means is that citizens do not have to worry about being searched as they are protected by the Constitution, unless there is a warrant issued by the law enforcement agencies or if there is obvious probable cause in which search is needed. According to an online article published in July of 2012, an incident took place in which administrators admitted that they overstepped and violated the Fourth Amendment through the use of video surveillance. As stated in the article, the FISA court found that the government was using unreasonable minimization procedures, meaning it was overstepping the length of time it was legally permitted to retain its video surveillance data. After reading through this article, what I understood was that the agency was recording and gathering video surveillance regarding an issue and overstepped its boundaries and recorded much more than what was necessary during the allotted time. One may notice an ongoing pattern in all of these amendments that I have been discussing, and that is the fact that every single one relates to actions that are taking place in the United States every single day, and they are such a controversy over certain amendments or court hearings in which the amendments were violated. The final amendment I would like to discuss today is the protection against forced quartering of troops. The amendment states that no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house, without the consent of the owner, nor in the time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. What this simply means is that the government cannot house troops on your property at all during peacetime. Not many cases have taken place regarding the Third Amendment, but one does stand out in the media which took place in the year 1982. The case was called Engelbaum versus Carey. According to an article titled Third Amendment Cases, in this case, several New York corrections officers were evicted from their homes on the prison grounds during a strike. National Guard members were brought in to act as prison guards during the strike, and some of them were housed in the homes of the missing officials. The officials attempted to sue, claiming that their amendment right had been violated. The officials originally lost their case, because they were said to not have been owners of the house. But when they appealed, the Second Circuit Court agreed with their claim and reversed, saying that their Third Amendment rights had in fact been violated. So as I discussed before, throughout my speech, one may notice the recurring pattern throughout, in which all amendments that I have discussed all have court cases or appealings linked to them. What this simply means is that the United States never stops when it comes to the aspect of controversy, whether it be a small fight between two neighbors or huge arguments on whether or not guns shall be banned throughout the country. It's obvious that in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they have been set in stone for many, many years, but it is also obvious that the citizens of the United States are pushing these rights to their limits more and more in recent history. All information I discussed today has been based on factual evidence through online databases and articles. I hope that everyone that took the time to listen to my speech really learned something from it. I really enjoyed researching a little bit more about our nation's Bill of Rights and sharing some essential information about our country. I want to thank you, Professor, and the audience for taking time out of your day to listen to my speech, and I hope you learned something new, or at least refreshed your memory with some knowledgeable information. Thank you.